Hey, I'm James from UA, and today we're going to talk about Plate 140 in Golden. It's, for me, probably my favorite reverb to use on everything. You kind of can't go wrong. It's great on vocal kind of sounds, and for the guitar, that means kind of single note melodic lines. You can play a note, and it just adds this little warmth around the note. You would find on most classic recordings, the vocalist usually is the one that gets the plate because they're the most important thing about a song. And funny enough, in rock music, in a rock trio, something like a Van Halen, you would typically hear a chamber or a plate pushed off to one side, and it just adds this depth without overtaking the sound. So we're going to play with that a little bit more, and you can see my favorite setting up here is pretty basic. It's the A mode with most of the knobs at noon. And that's kind of where it sounds great. And then we can kind of push around and flavor things by changing the plate, which is on the A, B, and C toggle here. So you actually have three different model plates. So they're completely different from each other. They all have a similar vibe, but the different sort of frequencies. Some people like to say, well, one's got a little bit of a darker vibe, one's a little brighter. And it's all going to depend on what the content feeding it is, too. So you might find with a guitar, for me, I always go to A, and I don't know why. It just somehow glues with my guitar. And with a hot vocalist, sometimes you might want to use a darker thing. So let's just play around with that, and then I'll show you what some of the pre-delay and our little hidden extra thing, which is a little modulation between these two independent plates, which is important to note that, too. You actually get a full plate left and a full plate right, so they're fully discrete systems. So when we give it, sort of, left to right ping-pong delays or choruses, you get this wider image. So let's take a listen to my same knob settings from A and move to B. So in that one, you can actually hear, sometimes you call dwell. It just has this sort of murkier low end. Now let's take it to C. So this one has this a little more of a sort of murkier thing where it's got a bigger, more upfront sound, tails off a little faster. So you can really hear that they're actually all three different things. Now you also have a decay control, which is continuous. So we can decide to lengthen this sort of dark murky thing and actually add some treble. So let's go ahead and do that to the C. Let's add some decay and brighten it up a little bit. You can hear there's a lot of low-end content on there. So let's give it some pre-delay, and even more bass content, and add up the modulation. So you can hear in this case, we've exaggerated something about that C plate and made it even bigger, and it's sort of enveloping around the sound a little bit. So you can see where just on a plain dry guitar with the modulation effect a little bit and some added bass and treble and the pre-delay up pretty high, that I'm creating almost a sort of ambient texture under my clean guitar. So you can do this all day long. You can pick the different plates, pull the bass and treble back, the modulation, pre-delay, and you really can't get into trouble. There's really no bad sound on a plate. So you can see why, for me, it's where I start. Throw up the plate, knobs could almost be anywhere, and you're going to get a great sound. So hopefully you find something that works with your distorted guitars, acoustic stuff, clean guitars. You'll find something that works for you, and hopefully you learn something new about the Plate 140 today.